What's up, everybody? It's your boy K. I'm back at it. Today we're going to be going over some recruiting tips, and so I'm kind of going to give my top 5 things to really pay attention to if you want to have success in recruiting in college football 26. So to start off here, we're going to go to a franchise that was one of the first that I started, not a franchise, dynasty, with UTEP here. And so I've already done a season of UTEP. And most of my points have gone to, and I'll just show my coach abilities here, have gone to motivator, but at the end of the season I was able to buy recruiter. So I have been able to get some of at least the scouting down, and then the increased starting interest for some, and then just defensive backs so far are the only one that I've gone a step further and gotten transfers to be more interested. But those are the only advantages that I have right now with recruiting. Um, Other than that, let's get into it. So my first tip, I think, would be to go after the 3 stars early, especially if you're a smaller school. Now, if you're in Ohio State, you're in Michigan and Notre Dame, I don't think that you'll have too many 3 stars. You'll be working more in the 4-star, 5-star range. But for a school like UTEP, whenever I'd first taken over, 2 stars were what I was mostly looking at. And so, as you can see, this year I'm trying my luck with some 5 stars, and got one up here that has some interest. I've maxed out on him. He's my running back. This year, the running back that I have is a 77 overall, and he's a sophomore. So he's young, and then behind him are all freshmen. So I got a young core. I'm just trying to figure out which one of them is gonna rise out, be the best one. But yeah, go after the 3 stars early because in this game, 3 stars do get taken. You do get in competitions, into battles with people over 3 stars. And so last year, with college football 25, I would say generally I wouldn't go after any 3 stars early on, because they would still be there later in the scouting season, and so you could just, fall back onto them if you don't get them initially. But as you can see right here, I'm maxed out with this dude, and I have a visit scheduled for him, and I'm still in 3rd place. Now, Utah's ahead of me, which they shouldn't be for very long. But San Diego, I think, is the other one that is 1st place right now, and that'll bring me to my second point here. So the first point is go after the 3 stars early because there's a lot more competition when it comes to the 3 stars. Sometimes you might even have to dip into a 2 star. So as you can see here, I have a 2 star that I've given a scholarship to. It's at the guard position just to fill in and get a body. I'm going after a couple of 3 stars, more serious, but he's on the list just for an extra body because you want to get to that full threshold of having 85 players. The transfer portal is crazy this year, so it is very likely that you'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 players just leaving your school through the transfer portal, and that's not taking into consideration graduation or if you get to the point players going to the draft. So you have to get a full amount of targets on your recruiting boards, and then make sure that you're falling down to 85. I think I'm starting this upcoming season with only 73 players on the roster, so I could have another 12, but that first season I was really trying to go after higher tier people. I wasn't really going after any 2 stars to just fill in like I am going to be this year. So that brings me to the next thing here that kind of brought me back. Where was it that we just talked about? Yeah, this guy. So if you look at the tier that he has, his hometown's California. Now I'm UTEP. That's Texas El Paso. That's where my school is. So obviously him going to Utah, Utah's a lot closer to California, and then obviously San Diego is in California. You can see that the tier that those schools have are a tier 4. Now you have to pay attention to the pipeline states. You obviously have a big advantage when it comes to recruiting players that are closer to where your school is located at. So let's go here. See, even for Texas schools, I only have a 2 tier. Now, I don't really know what the highest tier would be for me. Yeah, so it looks like pretty much just being in Texas will give you a pipeline of 2 with me. I believe that's something you can go and upgrade through the coaching, whenever you get your coaching points. But as of right now, we only have the 2 pipeline. I'm sure if a bigger school, that's the only school in the state, I'm sure your pipeline tier would be a little bit better, or if you had bought those coaching abilities to make that pipeline better. But really pay attention to the pipeline. So I'm going to have the most success going after people who are in this tier 2 for Texas. Okay, that's where my advantage comes. Other than that, you have 1 tiers from states like California, Arizona, Tennessee. Those are going to be your next ones in line that you want to try and get. Now, it's not impossible to get a player that you don't have any type of pipeline for, but it's very hard, especially like I just showed you. It'll turn into this situation. I originally started out being the only person that gave this dude a scholarship, and then eventually the other 2 schools gave him scholarships, and at the time I was only giving him probably about 25 hours, but then I had to really do a hard sell and really top off all the hours just to stay in competition. And I have him scheduled for a visit, and I'm still in 3rd place right now. So I don't know if we're gonna get this guy or not, but I should have paid attention to the tiers. If you see early on that you're gonna be in competition with schools who are 4 tier and you're a 1 tier or a 1 pipeline, then you probably want to save your time, save your hours, use those hours to go towards another person. Um, so yeah, that was tip number 2. Pay attention to the pipeline states. Okay. Tip number 3. All right. Really pay attention to how fast your recruits are deciding their schools. Now, a lot of this is dependent on how many schools are coming after them and how many hours you are dedicating to these people. But just for an example, I had maxed out on Kitchen here since the beginning. So I gave him 50 since week 1. I believe in this franchise we're pretty close. I think I'm only week 2, week 3. Yeah, week 3. So it has not been that long, only been 3 weeks, and I've given this dude 50 points every time. He's already making his decision for top 5s, okay? And that's how you get a lead on these 4 stars. You really have to sell out early, okay? If you do come across, like for example, a 3-star that has a diamond tier, then I would suggest kind of treating them the same way you would treat a 4-star or anyone that is really good that you want on your team, as long as they're in competition. Now, just because this person has a green diamond doesn't mean I'm going to max out on him if I see no one else has even offered him a scholarship. Those are points that you can use in other areas. So as you can see here, if I'm in competition with other people, I'll give them hours. I'll be in the competition. I'll hang around. But if I'm not in competition with anyone, then you're just getting a scholarship, which if you see that action summary right there, just giving people a scholarship if they like your school will build. So they can, like these people right here, I've never given them any hours and we're already into week 5 or top 5 and we're week 3 in. So sometimes you can just give them a scholarship, and if you're not in competition, you don't have to give them hours. But if you are in competition with them, just make sure that you're really, like this one right here, I'm basically selling out. I have 40 hours dedicated out of a possible 50. I'm selling out so that I can compete with, who was that, New Mexico State maybe? Whoever's underneath me right there. That's the only person I'm competing with for a 3-star. It's not even a 5-star. This one I'm losing, but that's against Utah. They have a 4 pipeline, so I'll probably back out of that race. But since he's still only top 8, and I'm only dedicating 10 points towards it, and we're just barely losing, it's not gonna hurt just to keep him around, keep him on the recruiting board. So I'll just wait for another 10, see how close he gets to getting to his top 5. And then hopefully by the time he gets to his top 5, and if I'm still close to Utah, maybe Utah's only dedicating like 10 points to him, then hopefully by that time I'll have some of these people committing already. So like I really needed safeties this year. And that's why I'm dedicating points to a lot of these people, even though I'm not in competition, because I have to guarantee I get these people. So like this one, for example, if I threw a little bit more points, maybe he can hurry up and commit to my school, and that's 15 extra points or however many extra points that I have that I can start putting towards someone who's in a later competition, who's, still just in his top 8. So yeah, pay attention to how fast people are deciding on their schools. Okay, a lot of these people, just with the scholarship, no points given, they're already making it to their top 5. But then there's other people. I didn't do any favorites, but there's other people who you can max out on that you can give a bunch time. Like I'm giving 35 to this dude. I'm pretty sure it's been pretty consistent as far as giving him a lot of points since he is a 4-star. Um, and I'm still just in the top 8 now. He's about to be top 5 next week, but he's just a little bit slower getting there. Okay, so my next tip for you guys, alright? Obviously, whenever you're doing recruiting, it's real easy to just pay attention to the positions. And I especially like this year how in the prospect list, at that top area, you can see your team needs as you're selecting your prospects. So it's really simple to just go to guards, know that you need a guard, see that this guy right here has no offers, so that's no competition. I like that. This guy's from Texas and he also has no offers. But one more thing that you have to pay attention to is the player types. Okay, so even though this guy right here is from Texas, he has no offers, so that means no competition. I love it. He is just a pass protector. And so even without doing my recruiting, I know that his archetype is going to be leaning towards a certain direction. Now I'm still going to add this dude on the board just because he's from El Paso, which is exactly where the school is. And that's probably the first time I've seen that. So I'm going to take him anyways, but he's a pass protector. What I usually like out of my offensive linemen, which I'm not really recruiting right now according to type, but eventually down the line, like this guy, I wanted size. So 6'4", 320 pounds, which I absolutely love in this game. How at the end of this season, not only do attributes improve or decline, I guess if you're doing bad, but I think most cases it's just improving. Um, but also the players can gain weight. So I saw that at the end of last year. A lot of these freshmen gaining 3, 4, 5 pounds. That is huge. I absolutely love seeing that. So hopefully by the time they are seniors, they look like a man on the field. Versus when they're freshmen, they look like boys on the field. I love that variance. But enough on that. Make sure you're paying attention to the archetypes, okay? This is especially important when it comes to wide receivers. As you can see, route artists, so they're going to be really good at running routes, but they'll probably lack in other areas, perhaps in speed and catching ability, breaking tackles. This person right here is a speedster, so you know he's going to be fast, but maybe he lacks in, physical catching and lacks in route running. This person, route artist, just went through that elusive route runner, so you know he's probably going to be fast, probably going to be agile, probably going to run good routes. But is he going to be the best catch in traffic or spectacular catcher? Physical route runner. This guy's 6'5", so you know he's going to be jumping above people, but he's probably going to be slow. So pay attention to those archetypes of each player, and it can already paint out a map of how that player is going to be. So whenever I recruit, and you can kind of see it right here, I have a speedster selected, I have a route artist selected, and then I have a contested specialist selected. So I have a really fast guy is the way I see it. I have someone who can run really good routes. So a fast guy could be an outside wide receiver. This could be my slot wide receiver, and then this could be my other outside wide receiver. This is like a jump up and catch it type of dude at the goal line situation. This is also very important when it comes to tight ends too. I personally hate recruiting tight ends that are just blocking tight ends. So, this guy, pure blocker, 6'4", 205. Although he is from Texas, he has no offers. I know there's no competition. He's a pure blocker, so that means he's going to be slow. He's going to be better at blocking. He's going to be less good at route running, at catching. But this guy, 6'6", vertical threat, 225. What does that tell me? Only 225 pounds, probably faster, vertical threat, so he can run routes, he can catch the ball. Won't be the best blocker, but I don't like tight ends being the best blockers. I like them being the best catchers. So really pay attention to player archetypes, okay? And then the final tip that I want to give you guys. So, real quick, tip number 1 was go after the 3 stars early, okay? Tip number 2 was make sure you are tracking how fast your players are deciding which schools they're going to, how fast they're progressing. Tip number 3 is pay attention to the pipelines of each player. The higher the pipeline, the more advantage you have in recruiting. Tip number 4 was to pay attention to the player types. So, pure possession versus pure blocker versus vertical threat. Now, my last tip is to prioritize positions. And so this is more of a personal reference. If you want to be a recruiting guru and you want to just be stacked from every position when it comes to the recruiting department, then yeah, more power to you. Go for it. I guarantee you that you're going to get a good squad together, but you're going to struggle in other aspects when it comes to the coaching abilities. As far as motivation, as far as archetypes, all of these have advantages. And if you completely sell out just on recruiting and you get the team together, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're fit well together. Because motivator, you get an off-season training boost, you get in-game effects as far as staying hot, and then on top of that, you can get cap skill hits. And then obviously tactician, it gives exact or not exact, it gives like a in-game boost, like specific to attributes, not like an overall or overtime type of thing. This is like what you attach to all your players as they come through, not them personally. But that has its own advantages as well. So that just brings me back to my point of prioritize positions, because as you can see right here through Master Motivator, I'm not really going to care much about running back. Now, I did max out on all the other ones, okay? But that's just for Motivator because that's the one I started with. And then recruiting, I'm going to keep it simple when it comes to scouting, and then I'll get to that second level with increased starting interest. But whenever it comes to the next ones, like tactician, like architect, like talent developer, I'll start honing in on specific positions that I want to have great everywhere I go. And so for me personally, that goes defensive backs and quarterback. So with tactician, with talent developer, with strategist, any of these extra ones that I end up buying, I'm just going to be focusing on defensive backs and quarterbacks. And so that brings me to my recruiting. I think that it's really important to prioritize specific positions where you always want to get a good player. Think of it kind of in a sense of like Iowa when it comes to D tackles and running backs. That is their calling card. You know that they're going to be running the football. You know that they're going to be, stopping the run on the interior D line. And that's just their calling card. So whenever it comes to UTEP, I think of my calling card right now. We have a solid quarterback. We have some good wide receivers. We are a primary passing offense. And so I want to make sure that I'm always getting solid recruits. Down at I think I'm still a 2.5-star school, maybe a 3-star school now. But the conference that I'm in being, I think, the Conference USA, there's a lot of lower tier talent, lower tier teams that I'm going up against. A lot of 68, 69, 70 overalls. And so if I can consistently get 4-star wide receivers, and right now I don't have enough points to consistently scout everyone. I try to preserve those points. If you're a 4-star, I know you're going to be better than most 3-stars. So I'm going to offer your scholarship and go after you regardless of scouting you to see how good you are. But I will scout out like 3 stars just to make sure I'm not getting gypped. But make sure that you have your calling card. If you're a school that wants to be dominant on the D line, make sure that you're getting a 4-star recruit and that you're maxing out, you're selling out all those hours to try and get that 4-star recruit for whatever position you want. As you can see, right now, linebacker, I have a couple picked, but last year we did a decent job of just bringing in bodies, so I'm pretty much covered for linebackers. But at corner and at safety, we did not do too well. And, sadly, there wasn't any 4-stars on the market that I could really try and hone in on whenever it comes to my DBs. But I made sure to get a lot of 3-stars, and, I'm trying to make sure that I bring them to my school. I'm giving them the attention, giving them the hours, trying to see them all the way through before I start focusing on, like, D-line and focusing a little bit more on O-line. But yeah, just have a calling card. If I would suggest quarterback be one of them. Quarterback's the most important position. You always want to make sure that you're getting solid quarterbacks. Right now, my starting quarterback, I think he's like an 84 overall, and he's a junior, and he's a good runner, good passer. So I know I'm not gonna really need a quarterback next year, but I will eventually need one in 2 years. So this guy right here, and then the quarterback I brought in last year, who was a 3-star as well, they're going to be kind of competing, but they're not going to be the best quarterbacks. Eventually, when I'm able to get a grip on my coaching abilities for quarterback, I'm going to start going after high-tier quarterbacks and prioritizing that spot. So those are my 5 tips for recruiting in college football 26. If you guys have any comments, if anything in this video you liked or you disagreed with, let me know. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Let me know how you're liking the game so far. I definitely think this game is better than last year's game. There's a lot of just common sense things that they added into it that I think made the game way better. And so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. I'm excited to see some of the gameplay videos out. Please look forward to more videos getting posted when it comes to tutorials. I'll probably make a couple more for college football. And then when Madden comes around, I'll get into the Madden games as well. But as you know, my channel, we're all looking forward to 2K coming out. And so 2K is going to be a big one this year, and I can't wait for 2K to come in September. And we'll get some videos made for that too. So I hope this content helped you in your recruiting. If you think it did help, please give me a like. Please give me a subscribe. Every like, every sub goes a long way. I appreciate all the support I get from my channel. Yeah, that's all I got for you for this video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, y'all.